Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back tonight. We are now here with our newest episode of Two Minds. I am one of your hosts, Beyond the Grave.
And I am a damn fine cryptid, also known as Connor.
Tonight, we're going to be discussing games that we missed the hype on. This kind of came about recently because, well, me personally, it kind of dawned on me. Because this week, for all of those that don't know, Silksong just came out this past week, and everyone was going crazy for it.
And for those who don't know, how don't you know? You're on Twitch. It should be like 3/4 of your followed channels lists are playing Silksong. It's kind of nuts.
So, for me personally, I was just like, I don't get it. Like, I guess, yeah, I saw the first one. I was like, all right, it was cool. But everyone has been like reaming over this sequel to be coming out. Everyone's been losing their mind, and I, for the life of me, I was like, I just don't get it. I don't see it. But again, that's not
mind beyond that he also didn't play the first game.
Yeah, I mean, there's that too. That I guess that's why I was just like
spiraled.
Yeah, and again, that's not to say that we're hating on the game to hate on it or anything. No, it's literally the fact of the matter is these are games that we just didn't get behind at the time that they came out, and we just kind of passed us up. And not to say that we weren't interested, it's just there were other things at the time that really had our attention or took priority over, to say, not to say that like we weren't wanting to play these games at some point. Just
for
that
each of the games that we're going to talk about, I think there's definitely like maybe a unique scenario as to why each was not why we didn't approach each of them. It's not like a universal like, oh well, this just didn't catch my interest, but it was like a global success, because everyone has their tastes and their own niches. But this is like we're trying to give attention to things I think that we otherwise would really enjoy if we were given that initial exposure. Because I think because Beyond is a huge fan of Metroidvanias, that if he wasn't turned off by the insane amount of hype culture built up around Hollow Knight, he would actually really enjoy it if he played it.
For the most part,
but
yes.
There's a couple of things, and that's what
there's some layers. There's some layers to it. Why we, well, I mean, for me personally, there's layers why I missed out on some of these games. Again, as we've mentioned, it's not to say that we're not interested in playing. It's just other things kind of took priority over them.
Potentially. I mean, the phrase that came to mind that really like seeded the episode was like, we missed the boat on this, or you missed the train, the hype train specifically. And some of these things that we might be more willing to like engage with in the future, but like, I don't know. Beyond, I think I'll let you start. What about Silksong, aside from its popularity and the hype culture built up around Hollow Knight? What about it?
Well, hold on. First off, are you gonna share your screen, or do you want me to share? How are we doing?
I don't have anything on my screen to share just yet. What are we?
I guess we'll start with Hollow Knight for me personally.
Okay.
If you want to bring up one of those trailers, and then I can just talk into a bit extensive as to why I missed out on this.
We might just settle on having their logos on screen, because if y'all have checked out the last upload of Two Minds, oh boy, was so much editing necessary, and I kind of had to.
Well, would it be a problem? Would it be a problem if we had gameplay or anything for the games?
It's likely less of a problem for video game trailers, but we talked about Netflix-owned properties and Amazon-owned properties, and you'd think on the Amazon-owned platform they would want something that is ultimately like free advertising, but nah.
Yeah, no, they definitely didn't appreciate that. Let me see.
Yeah, never mind that silly thing called fair use, but it is what it is.
Fair use. Fair use. Yeah.
I'll get that set, but why don't you go ahead and start?
Well, I kind of need you to share things so I can show something on my end. That's why. Because if not, we're just on the black screen.
Yep.
Let me see.
This could also be an audio medium, but it's fine.
Okay, let me get that going. Let me pop this out real quick. Wait, did you put on Silk Song's trailer? Or?
I put on Silk Song's trailer. Would you prefer Hollow Knights?
Yeah, I'd prefer Hollow Knights because it's the main game I'm talking about. Can't really necessarily play the sequel without playing the first one. There you go, typing Silk Song again.
Huge sidestep that will be edited out in the future upload.
Here we go. What am I gonna share? Monitor capture here.
Do you find yourself more of a visual learner? Is that
me? I'm more of a learner.
You're more of a learner. Okay.
I'm more of a learner with my hands than I am visually. But yeah. So okay. So now that we have Hollow Knight up, for me personally, let me just scale myself down a little here. Connor, you're a good size. Yeah, again, as I mentioned, this is where it all started. Nice.
And so from cut here.
Yeah, and episode over right there because we've
episode start.
So yeah, for me personally, like I said, at the time I saw Hollow Knight, but I didn't exactly like feel attached to it. Like aesthetically, I was just like, oh, okay, cool. As Connor mentioned, I love Metroidvanias. I've been playing them practically all my life, from actual Metroids and Castlevanias into other spin-offs. But I don't know, just at the time that initially, I know when this first came out, there were other games that had my attention way more because they fit the bill of games that I actually was like appealing to, like right off the bat. One of those games being Dead Cells. Dead Cells is a roguelike Castlevania or Metroidvania. And I loved it. I loved the whole aesthetic of that game. I loved the whole aesthetic of the gameplay loop itself, where it's like, oh, every time you go in, it's a different dungeon layout. It's a different area you can go through. The use of different weapons. The entire game loop was just so appealing to me over this. And again, it's not to say that this game is terrible or this game's bad or that I just, hate on it, because I can't really say that about something that I never actually tried. It's just, it didn't grasp my attention the way something like that did. Aside from this, or aside from Dead Cells as well, shortly, because Hollow Knight released February 24th, 2017. You want to know what another game that released in 2017 was that absolutely had my attention? Absolutely, wholeheartedly.
I have no idea what released then.
March 3rd, 2017, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild releases. And that's when the Switch was dropping. That's when the Switch was dropping. So immediately my mind, I'm a huge Zelda head. I'm a Zelda fan. Like, it's my second, actually tied with #1 series next to Final Fantasy. So of course my entire mindset was like, Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild. That's all I was thinking about. So Hollow Knight completely just got swept under the rug that I didn't even have a second thought about it. So of course I was so engrossed with Legend of Zelda when early on in 2017 that I wasn't really thinking about anything else. Then once I finally get past Zelda, Dead Cells comes out shortly after. Dead Cells came out.
Fills the Metroidvania niche for you.
Exactly. So that also fills that niche where I was like, I was able to keep replaying it and replaying it and replaying it. And then they kept updating it with new content. They were releasing new packs that, again, Hollow Knight just kind of swept under the rug too. And even then, prior to Hollow Knight being released in February, January was another month because Resident Evil 7 drops. And Resident Evil 7 is like, you're back in business. Like, this is new Resident Evil 7.
So without like a full release schedule of the last 5 years, there's definitely, like, it got swept under the rug for you because the niche that Hollow Knight fills was filled by something else. So I have a couple of follow-ups for that, because I think that there's a way we can dissect this. Bugs. So primarily, is it the aesthetic that turns you off? Because I think the rest of my questions are null without
yeah,
it. It is a very null without
yeah,
it. It is a
it
very
is.
gray game. It is very melancholy. Is that just not your vibe?
No, it's not. It's not that it's a very great game. I guess it's the actual appeal of the bugs. Like it never just appealed to me. That it's like, oh yeah, you're this little beetle, and there's everything's just bug related, and I don't know. I never saw like the actual appeal to it. But the gameplay I can see, I'm like, okay, the gameplay looks dope. Yeah. But it was always the appeal of the game that just never captured my eyes. Like, oh yeah, I have to play this game.
When it comes to Metroidvanias, are you more Castlevania or Metroid inclined? Because a lot of people like rebel against the utilization of Metroidvania as a singular genre, subgenre moniker.
I would say I was more Castlevania. I mean, I like the Metroidvanias, or I should say, I liked Metroid games. They weren't always my favorites, but I was always more on the Castlevania side. Those games enthralled me with the whole Dracula story, the Belmont lineage, and et cetera, et cetera. Those games always captured me more.
Part of it is definitely that Hollow Knight, and people will argue with me, but this is just my perspective of it. Mm-hmm. And I have not finished Hollow Knight, but I have played the game, and there's a lot of game there. It does kind of fit more of the Metroidvania, or sorry, the Metroid side of the Metroidvania moniker, which might also be an aspect of why it appealed less to you. Like, you are working with Melee, but when it comes to the actual platforming, I feel like it is definitely closer to.
Oh, it definitely is. The whole wall run, like, yeah. The whole wall running and jumping and then going and using abilities to get further up, that's way more Metroidvania than it is.
There might be an argument for, because Hollow Knight is definitely a skill-oriented, like, reaction-based game, which I think also turned a lot of people off, because there is kind of a barrier to entry. Okay, so I think like part of it is Dead Cells, which is definitely more on the Castlevania side of the subgenre. Probably filled the void, and then just constantly getting swept up, because who can keep up to date with games nowadays, what with work and all of that. So I think not engaging with it definitely did something. But do you think that the overwhelmingly positive, like, kind of antagonistically built hype culture might have also turned you off to it? Because I don't mean this in an offensive way. You are a little bit of a hipster in that you kind of are quick to reject the things that have mass appeal. And I have that same, like, rejection to pop culture, like, focus in other things. But when it comes to games, it's like,
yeah, I mean, I guess
played this, I think
I think it would be a mix of, like, because I didn't see the appeal at first, and it never caught on my radar, that suddenly when everyone was talking about it, I was like, oh, okay, well then, like, I'm still not interested at all.
Yeah, going back into 2017, I think the best comparison for this when it came to the conversation around Hollow Knight is the point of, like, advertisement, how people would talk about Stranger Things. Because was Stranger Things an okay show? The first season was all right. That's what I watched. But it wasn't a fucking, like, mind, like, alteringly insane entertainment experience. But I feel like it caught on with the normie population, like, in the way that Hollow Knight brought Metroidvanias to people who otherwise would not play this subgenre.
Yeah, and again, it's no disrespect to anyone that likes this game. Like, you're obviously it has these positive reviews for a reason, but I guess for me, it's just other things were already catching my attention way more right off the bat in terms of just aesthetic appeal right off the bat, the designs. Yeah. Then we get the fact because of that, and then everyone else is just kind of like, in a way, like you said, for me in my head, I was like, man, you guys are overhyping it. Like, this just not making me want to play it, because normally in my experiences, when anyone overhypes something for me, then when I experience it, it's not what their levels of hype are. Then I end up being disappointed.
Think that's limited to your experience. I think that when it comes to, like, hype culture built en masse, it definitely like leads up to expectations that with the way that people were talking about Hollow Knight for years after its release, for most people who did miss the boat who went back to it, it could never live up to the expectations set. It is an extremely competent game. It is an amazingly like it is a feat that this game was put out with a team of 3 people.
Yeah.
And was so massively successful. I get the aesthetic bind. It's not for everyone. But I understand. I think that more so than the resistance to like it not fitting your aesthetic, I think that the avoidance of not wanting to be let down by the hype built up to this thing if it didn't meet that standard is definitely more of a reason.
That's for sure. That definitely feels for sure, because I mean it happens to all of us where something gets overhyped and it gets talked about in your ear over and over again. Then by the time you watch it or play it, you're like, yeah, it was good, but it wasn't what you guys made it out to be. But again, and it's not that I don't want to play this, because maybe I will. Maybe that's all it is that I just need to actually play it to understand the greatness behind it. And I know it's free. I know it's free on Xbox Game Pass right now. 1 and 2. Hollow Knight and Silksong are both on a Game Pass. So it may be a game that I just want to throw in and try it for like a one shot. And if I do end up enjoying it, then maybe I'll just end up playing the whole thing. But if I try it and then I just don't see the appeal or it doesn't catch me fully after that, then I could just be like, you know what, it just wasn't for me. At least at that point I can say I've actually.
This is the least helpful piece of like review information that you can read. It is again one of the most asinine points of like determining a game's worth. But when it comes down to game feel, it is such a like unobjective like perspective to take and try to impart to other people. Hollow Knight feels like a really fucking good Metroidvania, and I think that if you give this game like a solid full like play session, you get like 2 or 3 or 4 bosses in, because there are a couple of mid bosses. It's the Metroidvania projection thing. It's like things that seem like insurmountable bosses become like mid-range enemies later on. I think that the exploration aspects of this game are really peak when it comes to the experience. I think that the actual gameplay itself is like one of the biggest selling points of it. But game feel is something that is so hard to impart like verbally or in a written or audio-based format. It's like you can't really tell someone like how good Hollow Knight feels until they play it themselves. And again, people's individual proclivities are different. Like people have described it as like, oh man, this game has the juice. This game has the juice. It is very good. And it's a game that if you want difficulty in your Metroidvania, you can definitely make hard for yourself if you want. One of the bosses later in this trailer was really the point that kind of sold me, and it was kind of nuts because it was like 15 hours into the game, and I'd done a couple of exploration routes, and I'd gotten lost, and I'd lost all my money because this has the souls like die and then all your money goes away and then you have to go find and fight your ghost to get your money back. But there was
it's got the Bloodborne thing
right here.
So it's got the Bloodborne thing where if you die, you know how like in Bloodborne, like the monster that killed you would absorb your souls. Was that something similar in here?
No, well, so you die and then like the spirit of the night holds on to your money until you go back for it. And then you fight it, and it's sometimes harder to kill than others. It's one of those things where going into like the narrative of this game is really interesting because there's so little directly told to you. You kind of have to
I've heard about that. Like the story is kind of, I mean, I guess you could say like Dark Souls-esque. Like you discover it as you go and you interpret it.
It's item descriptions exclusively, but where something is, what it is, why it is there, how it presents itself. These are all aspects to the story that you really got to kind of put it together yourself. And I really enjoy that kind of narrative. When things are diegetically introduced, but not like explicitly expressed. It's interesting. But this boss fight on screen right here, this is a challenge run that you can see that even in the trailer that you have 5 pips of health,
Yeah.
I went at this thing with 4, and I could have gone out of my way to go way further across the map and then get the this works off of an equipped accessory kind of system that affects your health values, your attack values, certain like effects of combos, things like that.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of variable gameplay depending on what your build is. And I
Okay.
came at this like as early as it was presented, essentially.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to leave because when I had this fight, this is the first fight that forces you to use the parry mechanics.
Okay.
Because it is the way you can like no hit this boss fight if you learn the parry timing on everything, including the down slash parry. Basically, as long as you're attacking an active hitbox, you can potentially parry it, and it feels really good. And it has that the screen shake and animation stun things that you look for in like fighting games. It feels really good, and I got my ass kicked a lot. And I went at this way, like I could have gone and come back. This is a completely optional fight at first. I don't know if the item that comes from, it's been a long time. It's been like since 2018 since I played Hollow Knight. But it is a immense challenge compared to everything you've fought up to that point. And it doesn't really let you use one of the primary mechanics, which is to regenerate your health based off of that meter in the upper left corner.
Yeah.
Because the amount of time it would take to charge that, you are guaranteed to be hit.
Of course.
So being forced to learn the parry timing and like I say the word forced, but like taking the opportunity to to sharpen my blade against the boss and then eventually overcome it is super satisfying. And it's hard to put like that feeling into words. That feeling is why you play Hollow Knight.
Okay. I mean, so again, yeah,
like wholeheartedly, maybe that's my recommendation to you, because I know that you like the subgenre. I know that you would like the feel of this game.
Yeah.
But until you feel it,
okay,
it's then, one of those things. Maybe sometime in the near future. Completely argue, like, yeah, this is a good game. It deserves the hype.
Okay. I mean, I'll take that. Like, if you're backing it up, and I know plenty of others back it up in the community, then yeah. I have no other choice but to give it the old college try, and then see if that same appeal hits me in some way, some form. I just don't want to again be let down over something, but I don't think I will be. It's just realistically, what kept me from it was just other games that did already have my interest. And then just not be,
especially with Breath of the Wild, because Breath of the Wild completely fucked up the release schedule for several games. It's really funny, Breath of the Wild's relationship to Horizon Zero Dawn, because literally there's a fucking Breath of the Wild and the sequel came out like a week before both times that it happened. But yeah, people will like reschedule their release based off of the big thing coming out.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it with Silksong. A bunch of indie games got pushed back or pushed around because of Silksong's release, which, again, if that doesn't tell me something, then it's great, warranted.
But there are also, I've seen some indie games be like, you know what, we're a completely different subgenre to Silksong. I don't think we're going to suffer from it. And like, let's be real, the fact that Silksong launched with a $20 price point. Oh, by the way, fucking $15 price point for Hollow Knight, and it from the start was $15 for a quarter of the cost of a regularly priced game from the 2017-2018 pricing era. You are getting more content than like half of the AAA game releases that year.
Yeah,
and a couple since then for sure. But that was the other big part of this, because the Kickstarter was so successful for Hollow Knight. There is so much additional stretch goal content that the game is just so goddamn big. You kind of just are looking at this thing and like looking to Team Cherry, this group of originally 3 people, and you're like, how are you doing this much? Take more money, you fools! You fools, take more money. This is 3 games. But yeah, it's worth it. I think it's a good time. that's one that like this conversation vehemently is what started the topic,
this entire topic. But yeah, so that was my first choice. What's your first choice of the list?
So I have a really interesting kind of perspective when it comes to this, because I kind of struggled when it came to, because you came forward with the idea for this episode primarily because of Silksong coming out and the conversation we had around it. I think that when it comes to like media literacy, it makes it harder for you to really like approach things from I can't see the hype behind this, or I didn't understand the hype behind this.
Yeah.
So I'm coming more from like, here is the game that like people would ascribe as made for me that I just missed out on because I didn't like, there might have been an aspect I didn't really appreciate, or I might not have had the time for it. I think that that's a big part of this next bit, which is the Sekiro Shadows Die Twice release from FromSoft, which I appreciate FromSoft, where as a developer, I know that they do more than Dark Souls. This is a Tenchu game. This is not a Dark Souls game. I think everybody wanted it to be a Souls game.
Yeah.
The thing that really kind of took me out from Sekiro's release after playing around with the early demo gameplay stuff, is that unlike almost every other Souls game, because this is really just the spiritual Tenchu gameplay successor, there is one way to play this game. You have to engage with the parry mechanics.
Yes.
It is practical to fight the bosses as though they were Souls game bosses.
Yeah.
You can try, but unlike the secondary ninja tools, you are always using a katana. That is it. That is the moveset.
That is true.
The thing I really like about Souls games is the variability in which you can come to a problem and solve it. I usually when I run Souls, I end up either going like, ironically enough, thinking about it more often than not, it's like a faith build, or a quality build, which is the mix between dex-based builds and strength-based builds.
Yeah.
And then, depending on certain things, I'll go a little gish about it, and I'll add a spellcasting modifier that usually is focused for increasing a particular attack stat, like adding an effect to a weapon. That's usually what I end up like just prioritizing when it comes to playing these games. You don't really have the variability.
This game definitely lacks a lot of depth in its gameplay. Because I'll tell you right now, I barely played this game because, like you, the one weapon thing is what kept me away, and then the fact that it's just you have to parry. That I felt
really like parry mechanics in Dark Souls games. I don't want it to be the only part of the gameplay that you can really engage with.
Yeah, that's what also threw me off, because I was like, well, in Dark Souls, I love being able to just switch up on the fly. Like, okay, if my parry's not working, let me try another strategy. But here, the gameplay
with
is just
speedy dex-based weapon. Why not switch to a big fucking hammer?
Yeah,
and Sekiro doesn't really give you that when it comes to the variety and options and how you approach something. It's really just learn the attack patterns, parry in response, and then hit the weak point, because there is no fucking there's no alternate gameplay option.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes this game a little bit more brutal, is that if you don't play that way and you try to play a different manner, it is so much more punishing. Because like you said, if you try to play without utilizing the parry mechanics, yes, you're chipping away at the enemy health or at the boss's health, but it is so minute that you're gonna be at that for so long.
Yeah,
that it's just like
you successfully get there, like you chip away, and all it does is reveal the
weakness
weak point.
Yeah,
and then the health bar refills, and the stamina and the parry build-up bar, the stamina damage you do, refills, and usually bosses will have 3 to 4 pips of that health bar.
Mm-hmm.
So it becomes like you can be super like great at this game. It is really impractical to try to go at this with like a proper. They should have just like taken the attack button away. There's no point in using it. Like itty bitty enemies between the bosses, sure, but like straight up, this game, if you could only parry, if they took a mentality that was similar to the indie side scroller way of the passive fist.
That's a great game.
Which it's great game, but does not have a direct attack mechanic, and that's the point. This game has a basic attack, but it basically shouldn't be there because it's so fucking useless.
Outside of like basic enemies, it's useless.
Yeah, that's the mentality behind why I just kind of bailed out on Sekiro. It's the only Souls game I haven't played, much less completed.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy is that this game won Game of the Year. It came out.
Yep.
And it's a game I know a lot of people talk about, and they say like unlike Souls games, like the story is pretty straightforward, like what it is from start to finish. The entire story is told to you as you go. Another thing I do like about the game, I love the verticality of the mechanic with the hook, but it was the main gameplay loop that I'm like I can't, like I couldn't get attached to, because I so wanted to play it like a Souls game where I had the chances to be like, okay, I can switch to this weapon, I can switch to this weapon, or even like in Bloodborne when you switch between the weapons, two different forms.
There's 12 different weapons, but each weapon has a different, a completely separate moveset in Bloodborne. I know there's more than 12 buttons, but or 12 weapons in Bloodborne, but you know, there's variability within a singular weapon and how you would use it, and there's also the ability to now so that you can swap out on the fly. Sekiro doesn't have that.
Yeah. Now let me ask you this. Would you have enjoyed this game more had you had more weapon variety and kept the parry, or just had the katana but you got rid of the parry mechanic to be such a core focus where you could utilize different things with the katana? Like you kept the one weapon.
When it comes to, like, if you wanted to keep this to weapons appropriate for the setting, you could have 3 or 4 different gameplay styles with weapons that are appropriate for the setting. If you want to go for a big build, you could probably go for like there are like two-handed katana.
As we see with
like,
this guy right here,
focused, like big slammy fucking katanas that you can use and be like a strength focused build. Maybe if the attack was like triple what the regular damage output would have been, it would still be super challenging, and it probably wouldn't be the best solution to every boss. But I think if you had that, and if you had like, maybe if the ninja tools weren't relegated as like usable, honestly, the ninja tools are a lot closer to the additional tools that are usable in Bloodborne, because they rely on a resource that is limited. Because I think, if I'm remembering right, it's the paper dolls that are burned by using your secondary. Similar to the Quicksilver bullets in Bloodborne. If you're using like, I honestly used so few of them, like the healing bell. Like that'll burn through some of that, and that's a way to limit the use of that resource so that it doesn't break combat.
Yeah.
But to get to that point, I think if you had like a Kusar, or if you had like a ninja tool set, like sure, the wolf is, you know, he's not like a typical samurai. He's a little closer to your ninja archetype, where he uses a variety of weapons and he just goes at
you know what it kind of reminds me of, the wolf in this game, the character you play as. It's like Ghost of Yote, how like one part is samurai and then another part you become the ninja at night. He has a blend of both, the
ghost or the samurai, and like I feel like they apply the ghost
more
to the tool set, but like the ghost is his primary move set, and then it's not really even fully the samurai because you can't just straight up attack things.
Yeah, I think this game could have utilized at least a handful of weapons, like 5 different. Like you get your basic blade, your two-handed longsword, a halberd of some sort, you know, a staff.
I mean, there is a Western armored knight in this game that is like an unkillable boss, and you have to parry him off of a ridge, which I think is a really funny.
What's his name? Roberto or something like that, like Sir Robert or something like that.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I know who it is. I know you're talking about.
I think the obvious response to my complaints about Sekiro, or to say that you're complaining that Sekiro is not Neo, and you're right. I am complaining that Sekiro is not Neo because Neo sucks to play. Again, game feel is this amorphous thing. I don't like the game feel of Neo. I feel like if you took FromSoft and gave them Neo's like basic mechanics, they could probably make that work in an engine that made the game feel good to play. But Neo's weird because the combat is not as responsive in certain things, and a little more like hit stun or like frame shakes on certain attacks. But no, it's a Team Ninja game. You're gonna get your shit smacked. You're not meant to actually win.
Yeah.
But again, you approach Neo knowing that this is coming from the people who make Ninja Gaiden. You come to Sekiro and you're like, oh man, Fantasy Japan Souls. No, that ain't it. And I know that this is coming off more like I don't like the thing, but that lack of variety is what kept me from playing it. I know that it's a good game. It won Game of the Year. It's a critical darling of a lot of people. I understand that there's value there, but that's why I missed the boat on it.
And that's valid. I mean, even me. I mean, how much have we gushed over a lot of the Souls games, and this is one that just, I missed out on it too, and it was because of that. The lack of like weapon variety for sure was the main thing. You know what? Also, what other game also had the same problem that a lot of people got angry about because of this, and we could have put this on this, but I don't think either one of us played it or were that interested in it. Is Black Myth Wukong. Black Myth Wukong with the one singular staff weapon, I felt hurt the game, and I get it. That was the whole gimmick of that game. Like the Monkey King has the one.
Yeah, you're following Son Goku on his journey.
Yeah.
So it.
But
the upside there is that because Son Goku is the trickster, he can use that staff in a variety of ways that can give you a way wide range of movesets. But again, I didn't play Black Myth Wukong. I know that people were lauding it as a really like a call to form for more Chinese development. But it didn't catch me.
Yeah. No, same. But yeah, this game particularly, I would like to, but at the same time, because of that drawback, I'm like, I'm probably not going to enjoy it all the way through. And I'm just going to play it just to play it.
Yeah. All right. So, what was your next missed hype train?
I don't know how big this one is. I know it is pretty prevalent now, but my next one would be the Xenoblade games, particularly starting with Xenoblade 1, obviously, because I wouldn't get into the others if I didn't play the first one. So starting with Xenoblade Chronicles 1 on the Wii back then, it was definitely one that I had some excitement for, because I'm a fan of the Xenogears game, and that one is one of my favorite RPGs of all time on the PlayStation 1. I adored it.
Yep.
And then PlayStation 2, you get the Xenosaga games, all 1, 2, and 3. I loved those too. I played through them. They were fantastic. So it's like, oh my god, another Xeno game. I was like, brand new Xeno game. This is going to be fantastic. But then when I saw the actual game itself, it was just one of those, I was like, I didn't see some of the hype of it, because I guess visually I was so used to something how gritty or how, like, I guess less cartoony these games like looked like to me in terms of characters, like the characters themselves, some of the world itself. I was like, they don't look that appealing to me. And then also to the voice acting,
definitely leaned into the anime art style a lot more.
And then two, some of the voice acting threw me off. I was like, the super Britishness. I was like, all right,
it's Monolith Soft. They're a UK based studio, and they hire local.
Yeah, and then that's the other thing where I'm just like, oh yeah, this isn't made by either one of the studios who made Xenoblade or Xenogears or Xenosaga. It's funny enough, each franchise or each set of games is made by a different developer and owned by a different company. So that's why it's like one of those, like, they never could do a Xeno like collection because someone owns the rights to each of the games franchises.
Because this is like a Smash Bros level licensing problem.
Yeah. So
maybe not that bad.
At the time, I was like, okay, it looks interesting. Maybe I'll try it eventually, whatever. But then, surprise, surprise, guess what gets in the way with this game that, of course, I missed out on, which, looking back, I probably shouldn't have let it get to that point, but I did, because that game ended up being not so great for me too.
I have no concept of what you're talking about, but go ahead.
Final Fantasy 13-2 came out right around the same time this came out. And of course, Final Fantasy...
Those games do have a similar vibe now that you mention it. That's wild. I never thought of that.
Yeah. Final Fantasy 13-2 came out, and I was like, okay, well, I had already played Final Fantasy 13 prior. And again, Final Fantasy, favorite franchise. So I'm like, of course I'm going to play that. It came out almost like a couple months before this had released in America. So because this was still around the time where Japanese games released first in Japan, then it came worldwide. So of course, this released in April of 2012. We didn't get Final Fantasy 13-2 until January of 2012. So it came out a few months prior. So of course, that's what had my attention. I was like, oh, like I had to. And then of course, looking back, I was like, I spent a lot of time on that game and it wasn't even worthwhile, which of course I want to revisit to see if I still feel the same. But as we all know, 13, its trilogy, gets a lot of bad rap, and something tells me I feel like,
learn about what happens behind the scenes to make 13 happen the way it did. Like you kind of you kind of have to give the game a little more like credit for existing at all. Yeah.
Well, that entire thing with 13's universe just was a whole shit show. But so yeah, and then now looking back on it, I'm like, I'm
talking about out of game, but in game as well is like like, the logical leap in where that story goes is kind of nuts.
Yeah, from the first one to the second one is just a complete like 180 on things.
Where they go, the third is kind of the worst of it. Yeah, it's just like, oh hey, the point of this game is completely antithetical to the entirety of the story.
Yep. So yeah, at the time, that's what had my attention, and then of course during that time too, I was playing a bunch of other games that also again caught my attention more. One, Pokemon Conquest came out a month after this. And then this is another game that slept on that I would love everyone to experience, that also came out on the tail end of the Wii. The Last Story.
Dude, The Last Story is such a good game.
The Last Story came out the same year this did, and I remember just seeing barely like snippets of it, and I was like, what the hell? And then it just released. It didn't even get a lot of promotion here and other, but just seeing those first trailers for me, I was like, boom, immediately again caught me right away.
Literally looking, because I was working at GameStop at the time, I remember literally looking at the Wii shelf and seeing The Last Story right next to Xenoblade for some reason, even though that's nowhere near the alphabetical order it should have been.
I mean, it's GameStop. People take things out of alphabetical order all the time, man.
But I remember looking at those two things side by side, and I'm like, this looks cool, and I got like The Last Story.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I enjoyed my time with that game. Like maybe 14 other people on the planet might have also enjoyed their time with that game.
So and The Last Story was such a captivating game. To be
like an insane series that is beloved by
and then exactly, and then that's the thing. By the time the second one came out, I was like, oh, and people were like, "Oh my god, there's a second one!" Da, 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 da. Like the hype behind it, I was like, "Did I miss something here?" Like, and then obviously we fast forward through time where we get the re-releases on the Switch, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, you have to play this!" And but again, still in my mind, I was like,
that's the funny thing about the re-release on the Switch is that it's not a direct port of the Wii title. You have the Wii U re-release and sequel with 2, and then you have Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, which is the first trailer that pops up. This is a port of the 3DS version of Xenoblade Chronicles, because even though it looks like ass, this is still a more functional version of the game than a direct port from the Wii to the Switch would have been.
Yeah. So yeah, it was an interesting little pass for me that I was like, maybe I should, because I've heard a lot of people talk about like all 3 of them in sequential. Like, obviously, a lot of people do favor Shulks or whatever. The second one I don't hear so much about, like, but the third one, then I hear where everyone's like, "Oh my god, the third one! Like, you have to experience this because of how the story builds from the first to the third." I don't know so much about Chronicles X of how it feels or how it ties into the whole story, but
I have no idea.
From a lot of the people that I know have experienced this franchise from start to finish, a lot of them, like amongst the community, they're like, this is like a peak RPG. You just have to put the time into it. But that's the problem, is that they all say that these games are astronomically large.
These are 220-hour
like
playthroughs, like not even completion.
Yeah, and they're just that's the thing. They're like, and that's just like base game. Like, that's not including all the side quests and all the stuff you can unlock with the story of the characters and hunting for this and hunting for that.
Here, because 2 has the DLC that is literally the size of the first game.
Yeah, so that's why for me, I would like to try them eventually, but it would definitely be, I think, a game that I would play on my own time, just because of how slow I feel it would be of a game that I'm gonna progress very slowly, and then try to get through some of that voice acting painstakingly.
It's like watching a B movie playing these games. It's really fun.
But yes, so that was
Xenoblade. If I were to sum it up in a sentence, is that I tried desperately on multiple occasions to get into the series, but maybe the voice contributing factor, but when it came down to how the game actually plays, it just didn't click with me. I don't know, man. I feel like I'm really open when it comes to action JRPGs and the variable action turn-based shit that some of the games have. And you would think it'd be right up my alley, because it's like this weird existentialist like war between biotic and synthetic life. Like that's the undercurrent narrative. And then in 2, there's like this weird waifu collector aspect, which, like let's not mince words there. It's basically oh god, I can't remember the anime, but there's, in the Ikitosen era, there was this Sekirei. It's basically like Sekirei, except a little less overt, because that anime is just Pokemon, but with
waifus,
a lot of personality.
A whole lot of personality.
Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is definitely like you are going out and you are collecting like random cat girls and whatever to be weapons. Yeah. And that sounds cool until you get to the gameplay, and it's just like, man, it was such a slog to get through. I've tried on like 3 separate editions to play it, and I just couldn't.
I mean, I'd like to try it eventually sometime, but
I even tried the definitive edition on the 3DS, but that had the problem where the Z targeting nub, the non-secondary analog stick on the new Switch that this thing was built for, being frustrated with that and having large hands is that was what kept me from playing it there, because I'm like, okay, this is not playable.
Hey, give me one moment. My dad needs some help with something real quick. Hold on.
Okay. I have returned. Holy shit. Hey, good to see you back. I think, but on that point for Xenoblade, ridiculous voice acting might be
it's also it's also some that's one of the things that like kind of blew me off. That's oof. Some of that stuff is pretty rough.
It's like a small British child doing a fucking Keanu Reeves impression. It's really funny until you have to play 2 hours of it.
But that was my second game. What's your next game on the list of why you missed the hype?
So on a completely narratively dissonant nightmare swap, we're going very different.
Go on.
Let me bring the trailer up. I'll pay for YouTube Premium at some point, y'all. It's just not today.
Eventually. Hey, look, it's Paul Rudd.
It's Paul Rudd and his face. He's gotten old. Like he used to be like one of those celebrities that you thought was a vampire.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing that I kind of missed the boat on is Kingdom Come Deliverance. Because you would think that this is exactly like up my alley, because this is like what if Oblivion was in a more realistic setting, because this is just Europe.
Fair.
I think the thing that like kind of turned me off from this game is just how inanely specific some of its mechanics are. So
how so?
I think the biggest
I know nothing about these games, so I've never tried them, never really looked into them ever, but I've heard a lot of people talk about these games, and that I've even heard a lot of people how like now currently with the second game since it came out this year, a lot of people are like, how come they're not considering this one for game of the year? Like a lot of people's lists don't put this game on their game of the year nominations currently, and then I see like some of the comments where people are like, how it's absurd how they're not considering this. So I need you to break this down. Like, what is it about this game? Like, how is it play?
So you play Henry or Henri, depending on how ancillary you want to get.
You can just right click on the trailer and it says loop it and loop it, right?
I could do that. I'm not doing it specifically to make things harder for myself.
Of course.
No, so this game, you're playing as Henry. He's the son of a blacksmith in a medieval like fort town. And you're in the middle of a lot of, I'd say medieval. I don't think that's the right time frame. It's just a lot of European conflict.
Yeah.
So this game presents itself, and you go through your day as the blacksmith's son, and you realize that like every interaction you have is training you for one of the game's main mechanics. Like you have to convince people to pay your dad for work he's done, like either making nails and stuff, by convincing them, hey, it's time to pay up, with like a speech system. Or, to fight the guy who's a little more ornery about it and will say, fuck you, fight me when you come, to collect payment.
Yeah.
The actual like sword gameplay is really, really in depth. There's like directional slashes. Like imagine For Honor's directional slashes, but increase the complexity by like 3 times.
Holy shit.
Again, weird parry mechanics. Like half of the fights, you kind of have to lean into rebuffing your enemy and then getting like shitty little jabs in to win fights. Armor, weight, and consistency are a big thing. It is, however, and you start off with all of these like mechanics that just are really, really inconvenient and kind of a pain in the ass. Like there's an alchemy system in the game, but you have to go out and herbs and shit. And as you progress in levels, these abilities become better. It is the Oblivion system of you have to do the thing to get better at the thing.
Yeah.
But getting to that point is really tough. This game also has a limited save mechanic as a baseline. Like everyone that I've talked to that recommends this game says, okay, but download this mod that just lets you have a save menu. So I think it's like save your schnapps or something. There's a drink you have to find to be able to save.
In the game, like standardly?
Yes. Like you find the item diegetically, and then drinking that is you saving the game.
What the fuck?
Yeah, so similar to
That's
Resident Evil's ink reels for
yeah.
the typewriters.
Yeah.
The problem there is that Resident Evil and other survival horror games have limited resources and make saves a limited resource to promote the idea of like scarcity and increase like how difficult encounters can really fuck you over, because it might send you back to a save that's like hours ago. The problem with this is that it's an open world game that's huge and vast, and you can just walk into shit that's just you are not prepared for.
Oh so, no, like, I've heard of something. I think a couple of our buddies in the community have mentioned that like this game does remember a lot of your choices and how you've acted.
Yes. So
towards certain people.
So this is the thing that makes me want to come back to it. Maybe if now that the second game is out, there's maybe a definitive edition or a fan definitive edition with a combination of mods that just make the early game a little more like bearable.
Yeah.
Because the range in quests is so insane for how you can approach them. You can go through and like convince people stuff, but if you like, let's say, I think there's one back to the original game on Kickstarter.
Oh, nice.
It's good shit, Valken. But it's a super interesting thing because you can approach like any situation with any like viable solution, and it works. Like I think this is in potentially the second game, but like you could try to save someone from the hangman's noose, and you can either just go break them out of the prison, or you can convince someone to let them out, or you can like stalk a dude to lift the keys off of him while he's sleeping, and then under the cover of night go and break the guy out that way. But like there's a whole lot of quest variety, and depending on what skills you emphasize, you can, you know, find even more approaches to solve problems outside of just regular combat. But regular combat is the baseline for a lot of early issues.
Just kind of giving me like Dishonored vibes there, the way you just described that.
So with Dishonored, there's like 3 ways to handle something. With this game, there could be like 15 different aspects that you can approach. And there's also quest interchangeability and interactivity. So you can, because you went and did this quest earlier in this town, the results of that can affect a result or a choice of how you handle a quest in another related space.
Oh,
there's so much going on in this game. I really wish that it wasn't like so repellent to me in the early game, because I've downloaded and tried to play it a couple. It's just like I feel like I just need to get to that point where the game starts to solve its own problems. Also, it is a huge ask on the PC to run it.
Yeah, so I mean, for such a big open world game, I can see that in the way you're describing it. This feels more like a life simulator than a damn like medieval like fighting game.
That's the vibe. It is more of a medieval life simulator. Just you so happen to be in the middle of a conflict, and you can choose to do a thing. At the
time, so there were a lot of technical problems, but I respect it for its ambition. I hope to get back to it someday. Okay. Yeah, just the way you've described it, some inklings like that I've heard, like, yeah, it's like you play this game out day to day, like you do your day-to-day tasks, but then you also get involved.
Sleep on a schedule, you can get fucked up to do stuff. If you drink too much, you get drunk and literally can't see or walk straight. There's there's so many fucking subsystems in this game. It's really intriguing.
That's
not also a huge pain in the ass.
That is OD right there. Like,
yes, and that's why people love it.
I'm sure. I don't know if that's something I could ever get myself into like fully like that. I think I would like honestly stay away from it, because I would just be like, I don't know if I want to deal with this.
Because I think that this is like, there is no right way to do something. There are convenient ways to do things, and then there are insane ways to deal with things. And just having that variety and having the game account for it
Yeah.
is so like interesting, and I'm a real big fan of Eurojank. Like
Of
I
course.
played The Witcher 2 when it came out on 360.
Yeah.
That game is not meant to be played on console, but I did, and that's how I got into The Witcher.
Nice.
I really appreciate like hyper specific subsystems and how they can be reintegrated into the game. This game has the most ludo narrative synchronicity of any like game of its type I've seen. Like how you play the game legitimately affects the narrative,
Yeah.
and how you approach the narrative can determine the way you interact with the rest of the game. It's like it's super impressive for what it is. It is, however, like I don't know. I think there's a barrier to entry that I really wish I could just subvert or overcome, but it just in the times I've attempted. And then people have kind of redoubled the want when it came to the second one coming out, because it has made some improvements in its UI and its kind of approachability. But I don't want to, like, it's a direct sequel. Like, the events of the first game matter.
Yeah.
It determines who Henry is. So it's tough.
Yeah, and this already looks like it'd be a game that you're gonna need to sink a good amount of
hours to start, and then hundreds of hours on the onset, depending if you want to completely go out of your way for it. It's super interesting. It's just like, this game is like a full-time job to get working.
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
Time for the percolator.
Well, that was weird.
Yeah, you had a little brown out there.
Yep.
That was weird.
Okay. Now we're good.
Okay. But yeah, so like getting into this thing it's a real like tough wall to scale, but I've seen people who have scaled it, and like the game is lauded for, you know, how good it is, and its complexity, and it seems really interesting. It seems like it would be right up my alley, but I just kind of like, it's a good game.
Honestly, just the way you described it, I'm like already sitting there. I'm like, actually, that is a game that you would enjoy thoroughly. Like, what the heck?
I only have surface level knowledge of it because I don't want to spoil myself on like what the fuck the deal is.
Of course, because if you know, you ever try to go back to it and want to play it, obviously you don't want to go in with spoilers already knowing what's happening.
Yeah.
But yeah, that okay, I can kind of see how that may have like deterred you from going. Obviously, if it's a slow burn at the very start, if it's graphically like just pushing your system, obviously too, you know, and
so
the fact of the matter is that like you can't invest all the time necessary to.
Yeah, especially now.
Yeah.
It's not that I don't get the hype for this game. I have the inkling of a beginning of understanding of what the deal is, but I just wasn't able to get there. And I really regret it. I want to have enjoyed this and then enjoyed the sequel the way that people, you know, have ascribed.
Yeah. Of course.
But, you know, just missed the boat.
Yeah, that's a big one. I don't know if I would ever personally get into it. Yeah, because that's a lot. I don't know if I could ever make that commitment to dedicate.
Were you ever into Oblivion? I know that like Skyrim's kind of a baseline for people.
Oh no, yeah, I played Morrowind and Oblivion. Yeah.
Okay.
I played Morrowind, and well, I ended up inadvertently going back to play Morrowind because when I got my 360, since a lot of those games are backwards compatible, Oblivion was obviously my first outing in the Elder Scrolls. Then I went back because a lot of people had given Morrowind such high hopes or such high regards that I was like, okay, let me try this out. But that's why when like Skyrim came around and I was like, oh, like I was excited for Skyrim, which also, guess what, came out right before Xenoblade Chronicles. I forgot to mention
11.
Hey, that when I was playing through that game too, I was just like, holy crap. And then when they did the Morrowind expansion for Skyrim, I was like, oh man, I was all about it. But yeah, no, I played Oblivion and Morrowind for sure, and I feel like this game could give me that, but I mean, that's all. If it's such a huge time commitment like that, I don't know if I could personally do that.
I mean, it might not even have to be. You can really just kind of like pick one way to play the game and then brute force your way through it with like a walkthrough potentially. But I'm just saying, like,
well, actually,
with this kind of game, with the amount of options that it presents to you, I want to go and fuck around with all of it.
Yeah. Okay,
but I don't know if it's a skill ceiling thing. I don't know if it's like just my computer's inability to handle the goddamn game that was like the driving force of like, nope, play something else. But yeah, I really regret not engaging with this thing when it came out the same way that other people did. And then with the second one, it's like, well, it's that sequel problem where it's like, I cannot engage with a sequel if I have not.
Of course.
Especially if there's narrative ties.
Yeah, of course. And that's how I would feel with a lot of the games.
Reboot, that's one thing, but
yeah.
That, and it's a really interesting window into like a time in European history from the perspective of like a semi-realistic depiction of events, how things would have been, how people would have acted.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I was like, it feels more like a life simulator of medieval Europe than anything else. Like, oh, hey, do you want to live your life as a common folk of the time? In this case, a blacksmith's son.
It's an interesting prospect.
Can't imagine. Like, I would definitely watch you play that just to see like how deep this game goes, because just being able to like grasp what you've said, I'm like, there's probably side quests within side quests that lead back to like another main quest
that unlock you go in and how you go about them. It alters the state of other options.
Like, that's one of those things like in Suikoden series where it's like, oh, if you don't do this side quest that leads to this side quest, that means you don't get this character who joins you in the final battle. Or like in Fire Emblem, like, oh, if you don't get a certain character at this turn on this tile, you miss out on this character showing up, and then they join. And it's just like
thinking of what is it, Fire Emblem Awakening? Or no, it's not Radiant Dawn. Ike's first
Path of Radiance. Path of Radiance.
Path of Radiance. So remember the one Swordmaster character you can get, but you have to a specific tile on a desert map.
Yep.
With a specific character.
Yep.
Like, if you didn't know what to do with that, how?
Yeah. It just automatically triggers. That's the best part. It's the same thing with what is it?
If you don't have Leith or Mordecai go halfway across the fucking map to a specific tile, then the guy who has Astra as his special bonus, I forget his name, green-haired dude.
Yeah.
He never joins your party.
Yeah, the Lagoos, yeah, you miss out on them. There's quite a lot of common things like that in those games. That's what I feel like this game would have, is that it's like this quest leads to this, to this, to this, to find this item, or this, to this, to this, to get this person, and then this person later on helps you out in a significant way. And that just already like
super insular, like things that are like how you go, the armor that you're wearing when you're sneaking around, the clothing that you're wearing when you're sneaking around at night, it depends, it changes how people interact with you. If you're wearing black and sneaking around at night, a guard will come out. If they see you, they will go out of their way to say, you're sneaking around and being a creep, you're fucking coming with me.
Jesus Christ.
It's nuts. It's great. I wish that I could just make the buttons click together, you know?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that does sound like something I feel like you do like need to try at some point, just because it does fit the bill of the things that you are definitely interested in.
I like weird insular Eurojank, man. What can I say?
Yeah, I mean, I like Eurobeat, so...
Yeah, that's not like that's not too far a jump, right? The Middle
Not at all.
Ages and fucking gameplay that doesn't make like sense in any way, shape, or form. Like Stalker and how that was developed, and like the gameplay there, and The Witcher in its earlier stages. Yeah, that's just Eurobeat, but a game.
Yeah, that's just Europe.
100% for reals.
Anything more you got for that, or?
No, I mean, I wish I played the game, and I wish I could go back to it, and I wish I had the time.
That being the main one, time.
Yeah, it's a motherfucker.
Okay. If you're on done with that, I can move on to my final game for the night of the list. My final game on I missed the hype and you just missed the boat on it. Bayonetta.
I'm going to end up fighting you on this.
Yeah, probably. It's okay. We've fun about this plenty. Bayonetta's the game I just didn't see it. I just could not see it.
Oh, that hurt my soul. Official Bayonetta trailer 15 years ago. Sega.
Yeah, 2009. To be exact, I'll tell you right now.
I'm turning to dust.
October 29th, 2009 is when Bayonetta first came out. At least in US. It came out, I think, a little before in Japan.
I remember exactly the moment that I found out about Bayonetta, and it was when I was actively reading Game Informer, and there was a like 1 by 2 inch article that just showed her sitting on one of the gravestones in the opening.
Yeah.
And then like a 3-sentence summation of what the fuck the thing is, and I'm like, oh man, I'm waiting on this. This is gonna be cool.
Yeah, now that you mention it, it is a Nintendo exclusive, Eric. But it's crazy because it wasn't when it first came out.
It's not.
It was on the 360. It was on the 360 back then.
And the PS3
and PlayStation
and then they
3.
did a port. And there was a recent re-release of Bayonetta 1 and Vanquish that did come to PC. So you can try it now.
But not 2 and 3 because obviously Nintendo has
those are hardcore Nintendo exclusives, and there's like gameplay stuff that relies on the unique hardware stuff.
Yeah. Which is interesting.
Solid bit.
But yeah. It's always a solid bit. But yeah, for me, this game, I'm passed on it. I missed the hype. One reason for me, like one main reason, I was just like, it's just at the time. Okay, now I was like, this is just Devil May Cry with a chick, and I was like, well, why would I want to play this when I got Devil May Cry? Like it
because
just looked.
This was the era when we didn't have Devil May Cry.
It looked way better to me. What do you mean? We had Devil May Cry 1, 2. Exactly. But at the same time, I was just like, yeah, no, I'm like, once 4 was done, which, by the way, 4 is still one of my least favorites because of the whole halfway with Nero, and then you return back through the same game as Dante. One of the worst layouts of that game, or of that franchise, and I know 2 is the least favorite, and I respect that, even though it's my favorite. But that's because that's the first one I ever played, which is a weird story too. Besides the point, but yeah, for me, I looked at it and I was just like, yeah, no, I was like, yeah, I felt like at the time, I was like, it's trying to be Devil May Cry, and I was like, yeah, whatever. And then of course you get everyone, yeah, but it's a hot chick, and I was like, still, okay. I was like, it just didn't catch me. I was like, in my mind, it was always just Devil May Cry. I was like, this is just Devil May Cry. And then 2, at the time that this was coming out, I had a completely different mindset on what I played back then in terms of games, because you got the newest consoles. It's the 360, PlayStation 3 era. Multiplayer games were the thing.
Consoles referring to the 360
at the time. I mean, this was 2009. It was the current generation, and my mentality as a kid, I would say not even a kid. I was post high school graduate. I'm working at GameStop at the time.
Oh, I forgot, Grandpa. You are
multiplayer games were the thing back then. So you want to know where my mentality was during that era? Left 4 Dead
Why
2,
isn't there multiplayer?
Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, and Borderlands all dropped the same year around this time. So Borderlands comes out October. Modern Warfare 2, the classic, the Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 drops like a week after this release. So of course I'm like all about that. And then you got Left 4 Dead 2 that dropped a week after Modern Warfare 2. So I was all about multiplayer games. That's all I cared about. I was like, what games can I play with my boys online? You know, Left 4 Dead 2, even to this day, Left 4 Dead 2 still goes hard in the paint. Borderlands, yeah, I'm kind of past that era now. But also that same, like shortly after all that time, again, going back to Final Fantasy 13 drops. So it's the newest Final Fantasy on the newest generation at that time. And you're like, oh my God, these look mad impressive. And my mentality was right there, that I know looking back, I'm like, yeah, these games aren't just knockoff Devil May Cry's. They're not just Devil May Cry, but with a female. I know in some way the games are connected. Like there's that lore bit. I've seen them. But yeah, at the time I was just like, I don't care. Like I didn't care for that style of game because it wasn't where I was at mentally. Even though a lot of people were hyping it up around me, they're like, dude, you should play this game. You like Devil May Cry. Why don't you play this? I'm like, I don't care. I have other things I want to play. But then I recently saw a friend, Stumpy. She played it through, and I was like, actually, yeah, I could get into this game. It is a different vibe, obviously, compared to Devil May Cry.
So there's a lot,
and even then,
doing my best to not like bulldoze you on, because I did play this game at launch, and I have replayed it several times, and it is.
Oh, I know you've told me several times to play this game.
Yes. I think that coming at Bayonetta to say that it is a Devil May Cry with a chick is a really base and surface level summation, even back then. And we do have to kind of take into context when this game came out and what the perspectives were. Yeah. You did have, like you mentioned, like what Western RP or what Western video games were. Guns can I put in my gun game? When like Borderlands or Far Cry was like coming out and calling itself, it's Skyrim with guns, though. I think that to say that the systems that Bayonetta like focuses on are just Devil May Cry, but with a different perspective, are kind of just not really looking at what the gameplay is.
Yeah.
Bayonetta is
knowing what I know now, yes, obviously they are stark different games in terms of their gameplay.
It kind of like borders on whether or not it's even character action. Now this is Platinum at its peak. This is Platinum with its releases that define what that studio was. Bayonetta, like I feel like that part of this cutscene, Bayonetta is the thrill of the near miss, is the whole point of this gameplay style. It is character action, but it's like you're playing a charge character that you want to run perfect rounds with, like unhit, untouched, constantly switching between room clears and charge ups that turn into like huge cinematic just slamming effects that you really have to be like focused and on point to accomplish. It is a high skill ceiling kind of game. It's like hugely cinematic. Its narrative is super interesting, especially when you're considering its relationship to Devil May Cry. And it is only referential, but the entire the narrative through line with presenting the devils and the beings of the underworld as these more kind of let's kill that for a second, sorry. Presenting the devils, it's like this meat thing, like the facade of purity, but underneath are these gross amalgam like piles of blood and fucking viscera.
Yeah.
It's a different game than Devil May Cry. It really truly is. And I think that
it definitely
this
is
the point. This is the point that defines what character action is, and people still to this day don't really know what character action is, and that's understandable because it's one of those things where like defining genre in games is in and of itself a huge annoying conversation that 9 times out of 10 just is reductive.
Yeah.
But Bayo is and has been and will be a solid example of what defines character action as a subgenre. There's so much depth to this game. If you play this game on its normal difficulty, run through the entire game, that and challenge mode stuff that unlocks like half of your arsenal, like even once. It's really like, this is a game that you can pull apart, and there's so much more depth than just saying this is Devil May Cry, because you can turn to Devil May Cry and say this is Stinger and Air game.
Yeah,
there's more variety than that, obviously. And the storyline until 3 was really interesting. The world setting was really like, this game was presenting a narrative style and a character focus that was just completely fucking untouched by the medium at this point.
Yeah.
So to have a actually powerful female protagonist who is going up against literally the world, and the embrace of sexuality as power, like, sure, people can say that that's reductive. I think that's that's a non-argument. Bayonetta is like the peak of like what you want a feminist portrayal to be. Sure, she's using her sexuality, but she's using it as a point of power. This is a point of like,
she's what they say,
control over the situation.
She's the epitome of a bad bitch, like in every form of the word. Yeah, like, not only obviously we know she's outstandingly sexy, gorgeous, hot.
Like, that's not the point, though.
But her demeanor, the way she acts, the way she carries herself, the way she speaks, like, there's so much aura there, like how confident she acts when she's talking, and the way like she interacts with people. It's like, holy shit. Like, yeah, I get it now. Obviously, looking at it now, I'm like, actually,
people go with this and say that this has the same depth that Dead or Alive fucking beach volleyball does, and that is insulting.
But it's funny enough, my favorite character in these games isn't even Bayo. It's Jean or whatever, the other one.
Oh yeah, no, Jean is the best Virgil ever.
She absolutely, like, when I finally saw the game played, like, and she comes on scene and the way she is, I was like, holy fuck. I was like, yo, who is she and how do I get her in my life? Yeah, she's honestly my favorite character.
That in Bayonetta 3 is not what you want it to be.
She's honestly my favorite character, but looking at it now retrospectively, it was an unfair judgment of the game. But again, at the time, as I mentioned, my mentality for games,
that was unfair to anything even remotely within this field of media. Like, if you're putting forward, it's a Japanese action game about a powerful, like, 7 foot tall woman. Of course, it's not going to get the coverage.
But you know why, in my case, like, personally speaking, why I shouldn't have knocked it off like that is because some of my favorite games, i.e. Final Fantasy VI, are female led. Like, Terra is such a fucking beast in Final Fantasy VI, and even when she unlocks her limit mode, essentially, she becomes this like feral spirit that is almost on par to like something like this. So looking back on it, I was like, oh no, it's because at the time, obviously, like you've mentioned, it was the Western juice head thing of, yo, here's all your games, here's all the guns, you could just go out and shoot everything. And you can do it with your friends online, and it's like, so of course I looked at this and I was like, why would I want to play that dumbass game? Like, it's
this
just
is
Devil May
not
Cry.
the Western power fantasy that that was being reviled by games like what's that Heart of Darkness game that takes place in the Middle East, or with all the sand mechanics?
Prince of Persia?
No, the third person shooter.
Spec Ops: The Line?
Yes. So Spec Ops: The Line is a retelling of Heart of Darkness, which in and of itself is a spoiler to what that game is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was a really that was
a
like
good
one of
game.
the turning points to lambast Western gameplay like priorities, because yes, it's a big dumb third person cover shooter, but the actual storyline is pointing at how insane and ridiculous that glorification of that is.
Yeah.
But so, like, does Bayonetta have problems? Yeah. It is not a perfect game, even within the genre that it helped establish. But this game was doing things that nothing else at the time was doing. And the depth of the actual gameplay is kind of fucking immense, considering when it came out.
I mean, looking at it, it feels, I mean, from what I've seen on just this game alone, it looks way more deeper than any, again, going back to Devil May Cry, than the mechanics in that game. Like, the way this sets like, up how you change,
DMC
like, the
5
guns.
Are you getting the kind of character depth when it came to variety of how...
Absolutely. You tried playing Spec Ops: The Line, but didn't get it. Yeah, the Spec Ops: The Line, honestly, it's a great game, not because of the gameplay per se.
The point.
It's the story that's told throughout, and when you get the big reveal at the end, is really where you're like, "Holy fuck!" Like, that gameplay is as basic third person army cover shooter as you can get, with some little mechanics here and there, but for the most part, it's the story that's told that is really what's captivating about that game.
Yeah.
But yeah, so for me, that's why I missed out on this. And I mean, again, now we're talking about what, it's like 14, 15 years later, and I've seen people
getting close to 16. It's really like my bones
that, and it's sad to hear how a lot of people were kind of disappointed with how 3 ended, which I don't want that to deter me either, but I do want to now go back and play at least the first one to get that. And then after that, if I decide to play the second and third, we'll get there. But I do need to give the first one its respect.
My recommendation to you and to anyone else who has not played Bayonetta is that there was a 10-year re-release that I'm seeing now, 5 years old. There's a 10-year anniversary for both Bayonetta and for Vanquish that was a remaster port to PS4 and Xbox One, and it also came out to PC. So if you want to see, they aren't perfect ports. There's some problems depending on your PC specs, but Vanquish is also a really interesting combination of character action and third person cover, and Bayonetta 1 is, even if you look at it as a solo, like there was no sequel, you can totally do that. It is a game so worth your time, especially if you like character action. If you like anything within the realm of DMC, within the realm of... It's crazy because Bayonetta is my go-to aside from Devil May Cry when it comes to character action.
Yeah.
But if you like that kind of game, this is such a huge aspect of what defined that genre.
Yeah. I mean, even now I can say, like, even just from what I've seen on this game, and it, of course, it makes sense why, but even Final Fantasy 16. But that's based off of the Devil May Cry 5, which Devil May Cry 5 then comes from this.
DMC 5's effect on like what 16 became is like, here's your character action mixed with MMO cooldowns, which Yoshi P, hats off to you. I wouldn't have done it, but fucking Bayo is so subversively influential when it came to games that followed.
Yeah.
And no one wants to give it or acknowledge it for what it was, because like when it came out, you were contesting with that chud mentality. And, and
it's
from
absolutely
both sides
true.
of the board, like you have the anti-feminist feminists who are like, this is a depiction of characters' sexuality as an itemization. It couldn't be further from the truth. You are not objectifying. Bayonetta cannot be objectified. Like, she will kill you. You will die.
That's a real woman right there.
Enzo's position as a character, aside from being a comic relief, is just straight up that. It's like, no, if you try to be a gross creep, this is what happens to you. It doesn't go well. But yeah, I mean, I think that it's hard to like not acknowledge that there were social and cultural backings to the people who were disagreeing with this game. Like, I look back to G4's gamer TV bullshit with like Adam Sessler and Morgan Webb. But going back and looking at that shit now, it's like those two in particular, I don't know if it was something that was pushed by the network, but they were like grossly fucking like xenophobic when it came. Like, jokes about the Hiroshima bombing were being thrown around because they didn't get like FF12.
Oh,
it was a weird time. And looking back to the 2010s, it was a weird fucking time, man.
No, I do remember. I know he's come out and said like they had him say a bunch of that stuff. It wasn't him personally. It was like a lot of the producers
of the show, because they were doing the lowest common denominator fucking humor because that's what the deal was then.
Yeah. I mean, and then again, like you mentioned, it's like you can't put this down just because it's a female lead, because as much as I give this series shit,
I'm gonna be real, it shouldn't even be a thing that you consider when you're looking at Bayonetta.
Even Final Fantasy 13
be a point of contention.
Like having Lightning as the lead, a lot of people were like, yeah, it's great to see another female lead. And like during that time there was a good transition of where you started seeing a lot more female leads. And again, and as you mentioned, like that shouldn't have been a thing. Like that was just crazy, but different cultures in the East, obviously in Japan, that was a common thing. Out in the West, not so much.
I mean, let's be real. There is the awareness. Like, is Bayonetta literally doing stripper moves to summon demons and kill her enemies? Yeah, it's cool.
Obviously,
stop being a fucking weird chud about it.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, and so again, like that. Two different eras of me.
Yeah, and, I mean, like let's looking
like
at the
that's why I let it
of being a human being. You are cellularly different and fully replaced every 7 years. So like,
so of course
people are allowed to grow and be different and have like altered perspectives and grow as people. I think that most of the people who put this game down in that era probably, wouldn't have that same opinion today. But I understand that the time frame that it came in is definitely going to be part of.
Like I mentioned, had I knowing who I am now and knowing what I know about these games, even the ones that we've mentioned, to what I was playing at the time, I definitely would go back and be like, yeah, I would fit these in. Of course, because two of the games on this list, as I mentioned, I set aside because of a Final Fantasy game, and lo and behold, those two Final Fantasy games are some of my worst ones that I have. And if I go back and play them, no. Like if I were to go back and I do want to go back and play those Final Fantasy games to see, do I still feel the same, or was it just again my mentality at that time that just threw me off?
No,
that I was just like,
to play. I'll be real. 13 sucks to fucking play. But
that's what I'm saying. Like
when it comes to the development of Final Fantasy 13, Lightning is a weird like sex objectification of a character design, because it's just a. I'm not going into it, but
that's a conversation for another time.
Depictions of objectifying someone for their gender and the character creation being the point of it. Look no further than Lightning.
Well, I was gonna say Snow, but Lightning's cool too.
Also Snow. Listen, man, 16-pack not possible.
Yeah, but again, like knowing how I felt after I played 13 and 13 too, a part of me now, the way I am now, I'm like, I should have replaced those games with Bayonetta and the Xenoblade game. Maybe then it would have been a better time. Because personally, after I beat both, and it's so funny because it's like 13 was this year, and then Xenoblade was the following year, and 13 2 shortly comes out after. And I fucking hated getting through those two games. And I barely got through Lightning Returns, and I don't even want to talk about that game. But yeah, like for me, like now I'm just like, yeah, I need to do this game some justice and play it for myself to actually experience the hype behind it.
It's weird. It's going to be weird going back to it because, again, the influence that Bayo had on action games going forward, you're going to recognize things that you were like, oh wait, did that come from this?
Yeah. Well, more than likely. I mean, that's what it is for a lot of people when they go back and play a game like that from an older generation. It's like, oh, I get this thing now. I saw it in this, or now I get the reference here. Yeah, of course, I felt that would be the case. That
unfortunately has been the subject of a lot of problems when it came to its development too. The second game only got off the ground because Nintendo were willing to pay for it essentially and make it an exclusive Switch series. Of course. Or at that point, Wii U and then Switch when it came to the eventual release of 3. Bayonetta 3 was one of the launch title announcements for the Switch 1 when it came out. And that was like one of the deciding factors day one. Only for it to come out and, flop horrendously because Devil May Cry 5 that game had development problems, but Devil May Cry 5 came out and I think they scrapped everything they had 3 and then remade it from the fucking top because they wanted it to be Devil May Cry 5. And playing 3, you look at characters and you're like, this is just Nero but a girl. This is just like, and they make a lot of really strange character decisions that do not like fall in line with any of it. And like
I've heard
weird like world decisions that kind of destroy the potential for there to be any follow-up to that series, even though like immediately after that weird ass prequel game that I never played.
Oh yeah, the one where you play as a baby. What's your name?
Baby Bayo.
Yeah.
Or Cereza, but Cereza is a child in a hypothetical, possibly alternate timeline because of the events of Bayo 3 being what they are. But yeah, I mean, Platinum has kind of all the parts that made Platinum have fallen away over the years. Which
Which
like
sucks.
the state of the industry for character action has been iffy at best. I don't know. I hope eventually that Nintendo accidentally drops a check into whoever owns Bayonetta at that point in time.
Yeah.
And a follow-up that actually levels out the series can be published, but it's really hard to recommend Bayonetta considering where it goes, but the gameplay of Bayonetta 1, and I will say that 2 is also pretty good.
I still feel 1 is the one everyone holds highly.
It's a keystone.
The highest.
It is a keystone release for character action. And it doesn't get enough credit.
But yeah, that was my set of lists. What's your final game for the night?
I'm gonna be real. I don't know if I have a third in me. My final point that I kind of want to bring up is that
I mean, we can close it off here and just kind of wrap up the episode.
I think that when it comes to missing, like, hype culture is really damaging when it comes to like trying to engage with what is ultimately like this is a thing that we enjoy doing and this is what we like spend our free time on. And when it comes to things that like have the like any shooters that have to come out yearly that are forcing people to put out propaganda on a yearly basis, because if it goes away then they lose the thing driving people to sign up for the army. Like there's things that can obviously be ignored, and there's the things that are like a setup for disappointment. But when it comes to just not having the time to engage with something that you otherwise would want to. Or just missing out on, like, there's shit that flies over my head. The top 0.01% of people who pay attention to video game news and upcoming releases and behind the industry panels. But I think that, like, you can completely disassociate hype culture when you have the degree of media literacy that I kind of feel like I need to be a responsible consumer. Because like half of the things that I considered for this conversation are like, well, I didn't engage with this thing because I think the person behind it is a scumbag. I think one of the founding conversation points here was The Last of Us. Not that I didn't have enough time to shit on The Last of Us in our last episode, but I think that Neil Druckmann and what happened behind the scenes, even if I didn't think that the thematic thorough point of what fucking The Last of Us 2 is, even if I didn't think that the idea was stupid, I like, after hearing about what happened behind the scenes and and like seeing interviews with Druckmann where he is just the worst person. Like, David Cage is a bad person and his video games are bad, but I've never had a doubt about that. That's never been a point of contention. It's funny to make fun of his games because he's a bad person. Neil Druckmann is a bad person, and he thinks that he deserves Kojima levels of critical, praise. And legitimately, like, acts out against his characters in the narrative because he didn't get the response that he wanted. I think that's why I didn't engage with The Last of Us 2. I think that looking and seeing certain games being put out in industry conditions that are not only not sustainable, but like actually killing people, like the amount of unpaid overtime only to be rewarded with being laid off 3 months after the release of the thing that you fucking missed your child's birth over. I think that, like, even knowing 1/10 of that makes it so that it's kind of morally reprehensible to encourage that behavior. So a lot of shit I miss out on is because, hey, this is coming from a studio that does bad things. Yeah,
that's understandable. I mean, that was one of the first points when we were discussing this. You brought up The Last of Us immediately, but then it sounded a bit too strong for I think what we were going for the episode.
Yeah.
I didn't engage
playing The Last of Us.
I didn't engage in The Last of Us 2 either. The Last of Us 1, the way it ended, felt fine, definitive. Like, that's how they should have just kept it. I never saw the need for a second one. The Last
of Us 2 is that it was critically successful, and they were able to re-release it twice on the same console, and they were able to change the listing for the original Last of Us game as The Last of Us Part 1, as though it was such a the sequel was such a necessary follow-up that the first game does not matter unless you find its conclusion. I think that that's fucking insulting to anyone who did drag themselves through The Last of Us. That game should have ended and they should have never gone back to it.
Of course.
I think the DLC was already a gross over. It was so unoffensive because it didn't actually change any of the events.
Yeah, the DLC was DLC was just a prequel
or a mid sequel because it was Ellie's story during a time when Joel.
Falcon says he's been meaning to play Bayo Origins, but since Kamiya and a lot of the original staff left, Platinum Games hasn't been the same. Hoping for the best when Ninja Gaiden 4 comes out. One game for him personally that he missed the hype for, he didn't see the hype for, was Dead Space. He played it and it was good, but not as incredible evolution of the survival horror game that people said it was. You've grown more respect for it when I played the Callisto Protocol. Yeah, the Callisto Protocol was a rough one, and it sucks because it was made by the people who did Dead Space. I think that was a rug pull.
Honestly, if I'm being real, I think the Callisto Protocol's production was a way to just take money out of people.
Possibly. Dead Space I did like. I think a lot of the big stuff from Dead Space fucking that you probably overheard the hype was the gore of it. Not really so much of the survival horror aspect, but just the fact that they had to make
new engine tools to like just accurately represent like people being degloved.
Yeah, it was the gore of like the kills of against Isaac, and then what you could do to the monsters themselves in them. You know, how you could decapitate them, or how I think one of the big things too that changed the game on Dead Space, where a lot of people were like, "Oh my god, this is the evolution." Is the fact of the matter is that headshots weren't permanent kills. It was one of those where a lot of people were like
conventions of the subgenre.
Yeah, where a lot of people were always going for headshots, and then suddenly the thing's still coming at you and like aggressively.
Yeah, and depending on what enemy you're fighting, the headshots will actively encourage the second like phase of it to be a worse and harder fight. I think that when it comes to Dead Space, the world that, you know, in the split timeline where EA didn't acquire that studio and then change it to be an action game for its sequel,
it's a shame.
I think we probably could have saw something that was a little better. And definitely might have actually shaken up the genre, because that was in the middle malaise, which was not really shook until we started getting into the, like 2 or 3 years later, when we started getting in the creator content made games, like games made to be played and reacted to on YouTube, which I like that's an entire conversation in and of itself. I was going to bring up the fact that I didn't get the hype behind what was Bloober Team's first game? It was the gallery thing, the horror game.
Oh, I was gonna say The Medium, but no, you're talking about another one.
No, I actively dislike the Medium for other reasons. It doesn't matter. Bloober Team's first game was just a jump scare. Fucking
Layers of Fear. Layers of Fear.
There was a lot of hype behind Layers of Fear that I didn't get, because it was a fucking jump scare walking sim.
Yeah, it was just essentially jump scare central with some story sprinkled in that, you know, it was good for the time, but it's not, I don't think it was as in depth as people thought.
It was part of that shift towards social interactive horror, and not even socially interactive within the concept of the game, but like, this is made to gain the reactions out of people that people can then respond to media, and then be tricked into thinking that, you know, the scary experience that their favorite YouTuber had means that the game is good and that they should buy it.
Yes.
Which there's a whole, I've got a lot of gripes with Bloober Team in particular, especially considering how their latest release has been received, but I think that's a conversation for a different time.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, media literacy, it kind of will kill hype culture for you. If you know what is happening behind closed doors, you may not want to engage media you otherwise might. And I think that's really what kind of made this tough for me, because I was like, there's stuff that I own and that I have either purchased and not played yet, or is on my wish list that I will engage with this at some point, maybe eventually. Die first. Because
there's plenty of that.
Alone is like 300 entries long.
Yeah, that's true.
But like, looking to production values, looking to like the greater expanded perspective of the industry will also kind of deflate a lot of hype.
Yeah.
So I think that's why I had a little bit of a tough time with this one, but you know, there are things that I do regret not engaging with, or regret kind of being rebuffed by, which I think is the case with Sekiro and with Kingdom Come Deliverance.
Yeah, and like even now, like more so, even I've learned for myself after like what I've experienced. I'm like, you know what? Getting behind the hype, you know, sometimes it's just like, yeah, maybe it is real, and you just got to give it the old college try for yourself. Because there were a lot of games that I've gone retroactively back to.
Statement is that some, like, just because hype culture isn't always effective and sometimes is the product of media efforts and advertising, doesn't necessarily mean that that's not also true. Like, I get that, like, there was a Undertale effect when it came to the release of Hollow Knight, where the fan base became very quickly intolerable.
Yeah.
So I get the resistance there as well. But yeah, there's occasions where sometimes a trusted advisor can tell you, oh yeah, this thing is actually pretty good.
Yeah, that's true. And so,
also that you should all play Bayonetta and Hollow Knight.
Yeah, I definitely have to go back and play those two for sure. Xenoblade, maybe if I can find the time for that.
I don't know, man. Maybe.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Maybe. But yeah, that's all I had. I mean, I think that concludes this episode here. You've said your piece, I've said my piece. We can come to a close with this now. Because I know you...
So, I appreciate everybody who stopped by tonight. You know, we have a couple of ideas for upcoming episodes. We're going to try to catch up to our once a month schedule. But in the meantime, if you head down to either of our Discords and want to submit a particular idea that you want to discuss or, you know, expand upon, feel free to go ahead and do that, because we would love to hear what you guys want to hear.
Yeah, and also too on some of the topics that we've talked about, if you guys want to expand further on your own experiences with that, feel free to comment on this, because these are obviously going to be uploaded to YouTube. So if you want to discuss on there, or you know, just let us know there, or even in the Discords themselves.
On either my Beyond's channel where he uploads his copies of the feed, or on Damn Fine Cup of Gaming, my YouTube VOD channel, where I put edited versions of the VODs for up to minds. The YouTube comments are open there. The Discord is open for discussion always. But yeah, if you guys want to let us know what you missed the hype on, head to either of those places. And if you have ideas on what you would like to hear from us, we have, but we want to hear what you want to hear.
Of course. And that, ladies and gents, concludes this episode. Thank you for joining us.